talk about JavaScript classes. But before that, I would like to have a look to the board challenge. So, you know, we got the React Playground where we can essentially start dealing with the amazing world of React. It's kind of related because we are talking about classes, right? So you see the problem here is we have a couple of tests. The first one is a bit stupid, right? Expect true to be false. That doesn't make any sense, right? If we evaluate it, yeah, we know obviously it doesn't work, so we can change it from false to true, and then it will obviously pass, which means we can focus on the main issue here. Can anyone tell me at least what the test expects?
Yeah, it expects the initial condition
Yep.
to be off. It tests for that in line number 8.
What do you mean the initial condition? Initial condition of what?
When your app is starting up, the condition of the checkbox
Yeah.
to be unchecked or off.
Yep.
That's line number 8. And line number 10, it's simulating that change and then expecting it to turn on.
Correct.
And then 13, the opposite.
Yeah.
Simulating another change.
That's correct. So here we're essentially simulating user interaction. We are expected to create a React component with a couple of things, a checkbox and a label, a piece of text. So whenever the checkbox is ticked, the text should be on. Whenever we untick the checkbox, the text should be changed to off. This is a classic problem in React, and that should give you an idea about the type of problems that you'll be able to face starting from April, ideally the 2nd of April. So we'll be talking in the future about things like create a React component with 2 inputs, password and confirm password, put some text on them. If both input texts match, if you set the same password, display a message, password is correct. If you set by mistake different passwords, display a message, so like passwords don't match. This kind of user interaction oriented issues, right? Which is what we are missing a bit on the Codery platform. Anyway, let's check on the right hand side. We got the class, the checkbox class already in place. So it's good, right? We don't need to type a lot, fortunately. Is it a stateful or a stateless component, guys? Stateful, correct. We got the state, right? Line number 4, yeah? And then we go to the render method. We got the structure of the component. We got a label, and label has an input, right? This is the component that will be changing. And then essentially we got the text, right? So if it's checked, then display label on. If it's not checked, display label off. What label on and label off mean? These 2 properties are offered by the checkbox component, yeah? Right, so in order to change the text, because at the moment we are not changing anything, right? We can click on the input, indeed, but nothing happens, right? Why nothing happens? Because this .state.checked is always what? False. That's correct. That's correct. And that explains why the first assertion on line number 8 works. Yeah? It didn't complain here. It complained a bit later on. So at the beginning it's okay. We display off. That's fine. But the problem is after changing the value of the checkbox, then we're expecting to get on, and that's not happening at all. Why that's not happening? Because we are not tracking input changes. Yeah? In other words, as part of the input, we can do that on change, yeah, equals, and then we need to do something on change, obviously, right? So I'm going to create a function called this dot toggle checked, for instance, right? Not necessarily the best semantics. Anyway, because now I'm invoking that function, I can declare it somewhere in my component, yeah? And now, how do we toggle the state, guys? The check flag. This dot? Set state, correct. And then what? Arrow function. Okay, arrow function. State arrow function, what does that mean? State. Okay, so then what? To point to the check, but how do we do that? Find it. Bind. So wait a minute, Ashley was trying to explain something. Yeah? Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, I agree on functionally speaking. I think we all agree what you need to do. If it's true, then put it to false. If it's false, then convert it to true. We agree on that. But how do we do that? Yep. Yep. And then what? Sorry, say it again. Checked. Colon. Not this dot state dot check. What do you think, guys? Is Bala right or not? Yes. How's that? Was Mo?
No, he was saying it should be right.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, was he right? Do you agree on that or not? Looks good. You can think about that. I got a package of pretzels, courtesy of Dave. I can keep, you know, eating for maybe 40 minutes. So. Mm-hmm.
So it should be state of check and exclamation mark in front of state saying that it's not false.
Yep.
And then run it saying that when it's checked, it should say yes, it's true. Sorry,
Guys, I'll tell you something. I have bad news for you. You'll never get a job without understanding that line. Yeah? And this is one of the reasons why we completely changed our priorities. We should never ever wanted to introduce React training in spring. That was supposed to happen in autumn, after summer. Yeah? But I'm negatively surprised how much you struggle with these trivial things that you've already covered. It's not something new. You've done that several times, right? So if you want to get a job as a React developer, it goes without saying, you need to understand that line, how to change the state, right? That's the most fundamental aspect of React, how to change the state. You cannot build any trivial app without changing the state, yeah? So please review task number, when do we introduce a state? It was task number 13, correct, thank you, yeah? Everyone has done task number 13, and some of you long time ago, yeah? So this is the most fundamental aspect of React, yeah? So yeah, that, I think Bala was essentially correct, right? So now if we test that, you see, now the test passes, yeah? It's all good. Someone, interestingly, propose a different approach using OnClick. I think it was Daniel, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah? OnClick. Will this work? No. Why not, Daniel?
Because OnClick is my business or press the click. It's not on changing.
That's correct. Even though every OnClick event triggers an on-change event. Remember, the test is simulating change. Not every change event is a consequence of an OnClick event. I will give you an example. What happens if you're a keyboard-driven person, right? You can change the value of a checkbox pressing space. You don't have, there is no OnClick event, right? Yeah? That's why it's not the same. Even though they are strongly related, technically speaking, OnClick is not the same as on-change. Yeah? That's why the good thing about React testing is we should pay attention to the details, right? The event we're simulating is not OnClick, it's on-change, right? I think, and I may be wrong, that if I simulate click, let's see if that works, guys. Okay, sorry. Let's make it fail first, right? Yeah, now it fails. But what happens if I put click here? Will this work? Let's have a look. It does work. You see? It does work. It's good. Yeah? Because now one of them works, but the other one fails. Yeah? Any question? No? No? No one? Daniel Balamo? No? All right. Cool. Thank you, guys. So then, yeah, as I said, this will be happening in April, and this will be at least at the first stage private training, but you'll obviously have access, right? So the way it will work is you'll go to training, and instead of getting the 3 levels of difficulty, you'll get 2 options, JavaScript on the left, React on the right. If you click on React, same thing, beginner, intermediate, expert. It will be pretty much the same principle, right? So this kind of problem will be probably intermediate, right? Say it again?
Can you recommend any books on this particular issue?
Any books?
Or any further, like any reading or any resources?
About the state or about React in general? Well, I don't think there is any book that particularly talks about the state.
React in general.
Okay, I can forward some links on Medium and blogs like that afterwards. Cool. Yes. Yeah, sure. I'll forward it to everybody. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah. You can always watch the video on task number 13 as well, right? That we explain how to create the state. You can review the stateful component workshop. You know all these things, right? Cool. Apart from that, now I would like to talk about classes in the next 17 minutes. So, classes is something that you've been already working with since the first day, right? Because React is about classes, or at least the stateful components of React are classes. Yeah? So let me show you an example. I'm going to create a class. By the way, classes are considered modern JavaScript. Yeah, historically speaking, the closest things we got to classes were objects. So classes and objects are similar to some extent. But now we got proper classes because of the influence of the backend developers. There's a part of the community of JavaScript comes from Java, C# and these kind of things, right? So they've been pushing towards having classes in the standard. Yeah, I know these classes are controversial. There are lots of classic JavaScript developers that they don't like them because they think they go against the principles of functional programming. But anyway, we got them, right? So let's try to explain how they work. If you've done a bit of, as I said, Java, C# or this kind of languages, I'm sure you are familiar with them. So I'm going to create a class animal. Yeah, and the class animal has a constructor. I'm pretty sure you've created 3 constructors already, right? So the constructor is the first method that runs when you create a class. So I'm going to pass an argument, which is the type of animal, and then I will save a few properties on the class. This.type equals type, and then this.legs equals 4, for instance. Yeah? I'm going to assume that all the animals in the world have 4 legs. Is it true? I don't know. It's not true, right? So, based on that very simplistic class, we can do something like that. Let dog equals new animal dog. That's the easiest way to play with classes, I believe, right? The classic animal example. Please note the case. When you declare a class, you should use capital, Pascal case. Yeah? And when you create a variable, which is the instance of the class, you should use lower cases, camel case. Yeah? So, as you can see, by doing new animal under the hood, we are invoking the constructor of the class because we're passing one argument, a string, the type of the animal. Then we can save that property as an attribute on the class. So what happens, guys, if now I do dog.type? Sorry, not dog. That's a bit confusing to call it dog. I call it animal instead of dog. Right? Again, please note the case. The class is Pascal case, the instance is camel case. So what if I do animal.type? What will this return? What? Type. Wrong. Wrong. Dog. I will return dog. Correct. You see? Yeah? It returns dog, indeed. What if I do now animal.legs? 4. Correct. And what if I do animal.pose? Undefined. Correct. We don't have that attribute in our class. We could do it. We could add it, right? We could do this.pose equals whatever. Yeah. So this is the basic way you can deal with classes, and of course you can create methods, right? So you can do, So you can do get what? Get get color. Not sure if that makes any sense. Yeah, return brown, right? Something like that. I mean, don't pay too much attention to the semantics of the example, which are a bit weird, right? But I'm trying to explain how to deal with classes. So if you can create methods, of course. So now you can do animal.getColor. What will that return? Brown. Correct. And what if, as part of getColor, what if I have a method called getLegs? Return this.legs. 4. Correct. Correct, right? So you can see there are 2 ways of getting how many legs an animal has. We can do animal.legs, yeah? Animal.legs, that works, yeah? Or we can do animal.getLegs. Generally speaking, I find the function approach a bit more elegant. That's a personal opinion, because we have better control. What happened if now we want to? Oh, that was a bit creepy. I wanted to remove a leg of every animal. No, you can do things, right? We can add 1 leg to the animal, which is probably almost as creepy as removing 1 leg, right? But now getLegs will return 5, right? So we can customize the behavior of our animal, right? Please remember me to prepare the examples a bit before the workshop, right? Because right, but I hope you get the idea, right? You can create methods as part of classes, and you can deal with them, yeah, and all these sort of things. Any questions so far? No?
Sorry, yes.
Yep.
So you said the functional approach is which one? Calling the method?
Correct, correct. So generally speaking, I think in the long term, we should try to assume that the properties are private. You shouldn't access the properties straight away. And the way you communicate with the class, the API of the class, is the methods that it exposes. Yeah? Cool. So this is the basics about classes, but let's make it a bit more complicated. So I got my animal, but now I'm going to create another class. Class centipede. Yeah, which is an animal, right? Still, but clearly has more legs than 4. Yeah. So, okay, let's have a look. What can we do with this disgusting animal? We can, obviously, we can do the same thing, right? We can do constructor, yeah, and then type. How many legs a centipede has? 100. Nice, yeah. So then we can create let centipede equals new centipede. Actually, we don't even need to pass a type, right? Because we know that type will be centipede. You see? Let's leave it like that. So what happens if now we display centipede.type? What will that return? Correct. And if we do centipede.legs? 100. And what if we do centipede.eyes? Undefined. Yes, that's correct, right? So that's the same principle. That's valid. But because we already have a class called animal that looks after a few of the things at least, what we can do is we can inherit. Yeah? We can reuse it a bit. How do we do that? Look, you can do, correct, extends, plural, animal. Yeah? So now centipede extends animal. That means it's inheriting from animal. What that means? That means that whenever I initialize my centipede, in other words, whenever I invoke the constructor, we can, and I'm sure that will be familiar to you, do that. Yes, that's correct. You've been using super, right? But not sure you know why we need to use super. So by calling super, that means it will run the constructor on the parent. So now, question. What will centipede.type return? Animal. Wrong. Wrong. What? Empty string. Wrong. No, wrong. Wrong. What? Undefined. Yes. Yeah, Yaf is right. It will return undefined. Why? Let's add some breakpoints, guys. What is the execution order? Right. Who wants to start? Anyone apart from Bala, who got more points than the next 2 players combined, right?
17.
So Jaf said 17, 13, What do you think, guys? You agree or not with Jeff? That looks promising. That looks promising. Let's have a look. 17, correct. 13, correct. Then Aisel is trying to connect, right? Okay, let me incorporate her. I don't know where is my Chrome. That's interesting. Oh, it's here. Sorry, I found it. Cool. Right. Welcome, Aisel. So yeah, we were talking about breakpoints, right? So 17, 13. Let's try to read it. Then 5. That's correct. And finally 18. So Jeff is right, essentially. Yeah. So whenever we invoke super, it will run the constructor of the parent. Yeah? But now, unfortunately, it returns undefined. It's not centipede, it's not animal, it's not dog, it's not cat. It's undefined. Why is undefined? Let's set a breakpoint on line number 5. Oh. Look, type is undefined. That's the reason why centipede.type is undefined. How can we solve the problem? Correct. Super is a function, right? It will run the constructor. So can we do that? Yes? Easy, right? Simple. So if we run that, if we keep the breakpoint on line number 5, look, wow, much better, right? Now type is centipede, yeah? Because of that, eventually centipede.type will return centipede. And now, last question. What's centipede dot legs return? 4. Why 4? We are not declaring the legs as part of the centipede. Why 4? Correct, it inherits, yeah? That's the beautifulness of using extends. So if we run centipede.legs, it returns 4. Exactly, yeah? What if animal has another method called get what? Get eyes. Return 2. Can we do centipede dot get? Oh, sorry. Can we do centipede dot get eyes? Right. Let's try that. What will that return? 2. Why undefined? Yes, now get eyes exists on the parent class, right? That's why it works. And what happened if now the centipede, how many eyes a centipede has? I have no idea. I'm not going to search for that because that's a bit creepy. But let's assume a centipede has 12 eyes, right? What will centipede.getEyes return? 12. That's correct, yeah. You remember the boxes? That's the same principle, right? Does the centipede has a method called getEyes? Yes. Return it. Does the centipede has a property called legs? Does it has a property called legs? No, no problem at all, because it extends animal and check on the parent. Does the parent has any property called legs? Yes, then return it. You see, it's the same principle we explained, yeah, on the prototypal inheritance workshop. And that's pretty much it. You remember when you create a class in React, I'm not sure if I still got the training. Let me see if I can open it. You remember, right? Look, class checkbox extends React component. That's the reason why we can use render, we can use this.setState, we can reuse the React API. Yeah? In that respect, React is very smart. React was the first UI library to actively take advantage of classes. Yeah? Actually, when React was developed, classes didn't even exist, right? But they knew that they were going to be introduced in the standard, so they, oriented the API towards using classes. And I think in the long term now this has proved to be successful because this has been imitated by others like Angular. That's it from my side, guys. Anything else? No? Mo, Bala, Aisel, Daniel? Using super is a must. Technically speaking, it's not necessary. You can think, well, I'm not 100% sure, but if we try again, but this is because we're using this. Okay, yeah, it looks like you are right. It looks like if you extend on the constructor, you need to use super. But what happens if we don't have any constructor at all? If we don't have any constructor, it works, right? So it's a bit weird, right? But it's how it works. So if you extend something, the constructor is optional, right? If you don't use it, if you don't declare it, that's fine. But if you declare it and you extend it from another class, then as you can see, must call super constructor in the right class before accessing this or blah, 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 blah. It throws an error. It's telling you, right, that if you don't use super, you cannot access this. Yep, correct. Yeah, I agree with that. Cool. Anything else, guys? No? Cool. Thank you very much. That was it for today.